great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning. Oh, yes, again, the beautiful reminder of choice that you have, that I have, that we all have. And what is that choice of? It's the choice of thought. Again, really grab onto how important that is. When you choose wise thoughts, when you choose thoughts that are in harmony with the good, with how you would love things to be, guess what shows up in your life? Everything that matches that. It's very simple. I mean, look around you right now. You know, there's so much evidence of that beautiful principle. There's so much evidence of it everywhere. You can call it the evidence of God. Now, this is not something to be religious over, but it is definitely something that will help you to make changes in your life if you get it. So, what is this evidence that I'm talking about? Now, remember, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is so that you can change your outcomes, change how much you earn, what you do for work, what, you know, who you're around, where you live, all of that. With that being said, what is the evidence? Well, it's very simple. Just look at all the things around you that were made. Look at all the things around you in the room you're in right now that were made. And what do they all have in common? Well, what's very simple about every single one of those is that every one of those things that were made were in someone's mind in the form of an image before they became the material thing. See, someone imagined it, and from that individual or those people were loyal to what's called the unseen reality. They were loyal to the image. Now, that's a really big, important thing to get. We think in pictures. All things on the outside were imaged in mind. And guess who has an imagination in you? You do. Your imagination, the most powerful force inside of you that can help you to change whatever outcomes you seek. Now, unfortunately, though, most people, they're a slave to their imaginings. Well, it's important for you to be a master of your imagination instead, a master of your imagination. Now, think about that, because you can imagine whatever you want. In terms of your outcomes, you can imagine it 100 times more, 200 times more, 1,000 times more. See, there really is no limit to what you can imagine. The only limitation you have is the limitation that you've consented to, that you've agreed to. But see, again, you don't have to consent to that. You don't have to consent to things as they have been. Type that in the comments. I don't have to consent to things as they are. And you don't. You don't have to consent to things as they are. You can shift your thinking. You can shift everything inside of you. And that's what we've been studying here in this beautiful gem here, the Master Key System, of which I highly recommend that you make this a permanent part of your library. All of this information here is all been about helping you to think that way. Everything that we share with you here at Elevitality is about that. All of what I've went through, what Dolly has gone through, what we've gone through together to build this beautiful platform is about helping you to understand that. So with that being said, our invitation for you, as has always been, is to use this information and use it as if your life depends on it. You know why? Because it freaking does. It does 100%. Now, before we move forward into where we left off in this beautiful gem, our reminder for you is to get a copy of this beautiful gem right here. There is no such thing as self-sabotage. This is the next beautiful book that we are going to dive into that absolutely obliterates, decimates, destroys the idea that you are your own worst enemy, that you're battling against yourself, that you're self-sabotaging. There is no such thing as self-sabotage. And when you dive into this and use it in your life and start thinking this way, you start to feel free, and that is definitely worth it. All right, so let's go into this, shall we? Let's go into where we are Ready? Nod your heads. Yes, we're ready. All right, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, boom. Oh my gosh, I love technology. This is so cool. All right. Now, this is something that we went over yesterday, and I told you that we were going to go over it again because of how important it is. And it's this question here. And again, it ties to where the power is. Now, the page that we're on, by the way, is page 421. Oh my gosh, it's coming close. 421. And now let's dive into this question, shall we? Here we go. You correctly state that possession depends on use. Actually, all of you type that in the comments. Possession depends on use. Okay? Type in the comments. How can this fact be best explained to show that this is the only way in which to acquire a reservoir of power, possession, etc., to draw on in time of emergency, etc.? Again, that's a really great question. And how many of you would love to be able to draw on that when things don't go according to plan? Raise your hand, right? Yes, right? It's true. That's what you would love to tap into for you. So let's go into the answer here. What does he say about this? Well, what he says is, by illustration, a man desires to strengthen his arm. He wishes to become powerful. He does not conserve what strength he has in the arm by binding it to his side. Oh, I'm just going to keep my arm still. If he did this, he would soon lose what strength he already had. On the contrary, he begins to use it, to use his arm. He begins to exercise it, and he finds that the more he uses it, the more strength is secured. The more he gives of his strength, the more he gets. The same rule applies in regard to mental and spiritual strength. Now, again, let's really grab on to what's being said here. This right here is a beautiful principle that will help you to deliver incredible outcomes in your life. Now, I'm going to bring in a practical example that actually ties into my arm. Have any of you ever had frozen shoulder? It sucks. Okay. If you don't know what frozen shoulder is, it's like your arm is locked and you can't move. And it really sucks. Your shoulder is literally frozen and it hurts like a son of a bitch to move it. Now, when I was going through that, again, it was hurt and I didn't like it. I wanted my arm to move, but it was so painful that I kept it still. And what's interesting is the more I kept it still, the more it stayed stuck. See, there wasn't movement around. Now, what I had to do in order to loosen it up, which is what my doctor said to do, is I had to exercise and stretch and move my arm and put my arm up against the wall and lean into it and do these rotating exercises. And exactly what was shared here is exactly what happened here. The more I moved it, the more loose it became. And that looseness enabled me to rid myself of that frozen shoulder. Now think about that for you when it comes to your mind. See, it's through thinking, it's through practice, it's through application of this information that you'll get more awareness. Think about maybe, for instance, courses you've taken. How many of you have taken courses about how to be successful in this area or that area, or you've watched videos, you have books, but then for some reason, the results aren't changing, even though you have all of that knowledge. Why? Well, because the knowledge is not being used. It's not being applied. See, that's why I close every one of these calls with, what's the golden rule? Application, baby. That's where it's at. See, it's through the movement that things change. See, it's not true that the one who has the biggest library or the most videos delivers the best results. We all know that that's not the case. Because if that were the case, then there would be a lot more people who are a lot more successful than they are. See, the one that separates, I should say, what separates those who are highly successful versus those who aren't, it's not about the knowledge they have. It's about whether or not the knowledge is being used. And that's what you've got to grab onto for you. Now, again, let's look at how simple this practical example is. By illustration, a man desires strength in his arm. He wishes to become powerful. He does not conserve what strength he has in the arm by binding it on the side. If he did this, he would soon lose the strength he already had. On the contrary, he begins to use it. He begins to exercise it. And he finds the more he uses it, the more strength is secured. And that's what will happen to you if you use this, what we're sharing with you. Now think about the implications here, the benefits of using this when it comes to you changing your outcomes, earning more money, changing your lifestyle, increasing the results in your life. The more you think that way, the more that will show up in your life. So beautiful. Now, before we proceed, for those of you who are watching this live stream and love to dive deeper into this, to use this, to make this part of your daily routine, go to elevitality.com and register for Master Your Mind. You will thank yourself later. You'll thank yourself big time.